Around the 16th of April 1991, police in Oxford received a call from a university to report that one of their students, Rachel McLean, was missing. Rachel had returned back home from her parents' house in Blackpool back to her university accommodation in Oxford after the Easter holidays. She had spent the weekend at home in Oxford with her boyfriend, and she had been seen around the 13th, but when she did not show up for her exams, at first no one really thought anything was dreadfully wrong, thinking that maybe she was just with friends. Rachel was described as a very fun, bubbly and confident girl. She had been born in England in the seaside town of Blackpool and raised in nearby Carlton. She was the oldest of 3 children with 2 younger brothers, David and Peter. And at the time of this case, Rachel's mother, Joan, was the head of the foreign language department at Hodgson High School, while her father, Malcolm, was a British aerospace engineer. At the age of 19, Rachel was now a second-year student studying the English language at St Hilda's in Oxford. Prior to gaining a place at St Hilda's, Rachel had attended Blackpool Sixth Form College. She was doing really well academically and had met her current boyfriend, John Tanner, as she celebrated her 19th birthday with friends in the hometown of Blackpool. He had been working as a barman when Rachel was out with friends. Now, Rachel's boyfriend, John Tanner, he seemed to be very charismatic, outgoing, and was full of life. John was from New Zealand and was studying at Nottingham University. Rachel was a very popular girl with fellow students and tutors. By now, police had a missing student to search for. At first, as a lot of students do, they usually turn up. But with Rachel, she just had disappeared. 3 days after Rachel had gone missing, John was back at university in his accommodation in Nottingham. He tried calling Rachel, although her friends said that she was not there. He wrote a letter to her saying, "My darling Rachel, I tried to call you, but I guess you were not there. A call would be appreciated, but without you, this is a terrible burden to bear. Please call me now or soon. I love you, my Rachel, now and forever, and I miss you, love. Your John." Rachel's family gave a press conference requesting that Rachel at least let them know she was safe, and by now the news stations had picked up the story. Rachel was always in contact with her family. For a week, she had not been in touch with her family or John. Her flatmates had not seen her, and her tutors were wondering where she was. Police at first came to Rachel's home in Oxford that she shared with friends. They searched the house looking for Rachel and clues as to where she might be. They looked in her room for diaries or a calendar, anything that might help with their inquiries. It was classed as an initial search of the property. Police looked for things that Rachel would need if she left the house, such as keys, bag, clothes, etc. While there, they also picked up her mail. It seemed that Rachel had not taken anything with her that she may have needed if she had gone somewhere. Police were up against a baffling disappearance of a young girl that took nothing with her, leaving them to believe that if she had gone somewhere, that she had not gone by choice. Police spoke to Rachel's flatmates. They asked if Rachel was upset about anything, if she had come into contact with anyone who had threatened her, but her friends could not think of anything besides her exams that would give her cause for concern. They asked if Rachel had a boyfriend and what was going on with that. The friends told police about John, telling them that he was at Nottingham University, and told officers that the couple had been dating for about 8 months, and that they saw each other every weekend without fail, whether it be Rachel going to Nottingham or John coming here to Oxford. The friends said that the couple seemed to be mad about each other and told officers that even when he was here, they kept themselves to themselves in their room and they barely saw him. John and Rachel were at different universities, but they spent a lot of time together. They seemed very much in love, and the distance never seemed to be a problem for the pair. They would write letters to each other during the week, they would call each other almost every night, and spend every weekend together. It was described by friends as a very passionate affair. 5th of October, 1990. Dear John, I love you. I love the way you love me. Face it, it's a life sentence. The 13th of November, 1990. Dear John, this is the paper I told you about. Sexy, isn't it? I'm sat in my underwear with the fire on. Just kidding. I'm missing you so desperately. This is so different from anything I've ever felt before. I don't want anyone or anything else. I just want you. John was calling the flat every day, and there were times that he would call when Rachel was just not at home. The girls would roll their eyes together as if they could almost guess who it was before they answered. John would not just ask if Rachel was home, but seemed disappointed if she was not there. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi John.
Is she around?
You just missed her.
Oh, just now?
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago.
Just, you don't remember who she was seeing, do you?
To be honest, I haven't a clue, John.
Sure. Listen, you don't remember what she was wearing, do you? That blue skirt, was it?
To be honest, John, I haven't a clue.
I think she was wearing her jeans. He would ask where she had gone, who she had gone out with. He would even ask what she was wearing when she went out. The girls had no idea and told him so.
Will you just listen to me? What do I have to do, John?
This was eating away at their relationship. The insecurities and distrust was too much for Rachel to bear. She loved John, but at the same time she'd had enough of his jealous behaviour. Another letter she wrote to John. John, we cannot go on like this, arguing every night on the phone. Now John wanted Rachel to himself. He did not want to share her with anyone else, but Rachel found this claustrophobic. The letters that she wrote progressively became more argumentative, as Rachel described how she couldn't breathe in their relationship. She'd gone from seeing John as this independent, intellectual young man to this insecure, overly dependent individual who would not let her socialise and would scrutinise everything she did. As Rachel sat on her bed writing her Valentine's card to John in February 1991, she wrote, "To my one and only John, to the man who has made me feel like a woman once more, who lights my fire and who burns with me, who takes me places I've only ever dreamed of. You are and will always be my Valentines." But that was not what she was actually thinking, as she had written in her diary for the same day. Just finished writing John's Valentine's card, shoveling out rubbish from a fire that has dried and cracked within me. Somehow, I don't think he would have appreciated sweet nothings along the lines of "you sick childish bastard. I hope your romance with yourself lasts forever and ever," before placing her diary back under the mattress where she kept it. The police came round to Rachel's house in Oxford again to speak to her flatmates. They passed the police a letter that had arrived for Rachel while she was missing.
My dearest, lovely Rachel, thank you for such a wonderful weekend. Please excuse the handwriting as I'm now sadly wending my way away from your smiling face. Love you, Rachel, can you believe that? Still, at least you won't be lonely. Had you seen that friend of yours at the station? It's nice of him to give you a lift.
Police were now even more sure something had occurred with her boyfriend. He had been so insecure. They had read the diaries and letters. The part where he had said that she wouldn't be lonely because she had gone off with this friend for a lift, this man, just didn't add up to officers. They felt that there was no way John would have been happy seeing Rachel go off with another man, a long-haired man like him. Plus, he also mentioned being with Rachel that weekend that she had disappeared. They needed to speak to him and fast. 9 days after Rachel's disappearance, police were now banging on John Tanner's front door in Nottingham. As they opened the door, the detective said they had come to take a witness statement. John was polite and friendly, letting officers into his home before sitting down in the lounge room to talk to them. He told officers that on Monday the 15th, he had woken up about noon to find Rachel studying at the kitchen table. In the afternoon, they made love before he had a shower, packed up and got ready to go back to Nottingham. We left the house at about 4:15, he said, catching a bus to the railway station. Rachel saw a friend of hers in the cafe, a man with long hair. Before we embraced on the platform and she said goodbye to me. I then got on the train back to Nottingham and Rachel went off with her male friend with long hair, who coincidentally just looked like him. The detectives got 2 officers to attend his home to talk to him about what was going on and befriend him in some kind of way. Really, they were just keeping an eye on him. The finger of suspicion was now well and truly on John Tanner. They played cards with him and drank tea, ate biscuits. They talked about the football and watched his body language, making a note of anything he said that may be able to be used for evidence. As police picked through undergrowth on waste ground around Rachel's home in Oxford, divers searched the small rivers and ponds, and Rachel's description was circulated around town. 5 foot 6 inches tall, slim, fresh complexion, shoulder-length ginger auburn hair, and brown eyes. On the 21st of April, the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, took control of the inquiry. The initial search of Rachel's house was made by detectives, but there was nothing there to suggest that she'd come to any harm in the house. An examination of floorboards showed that they had not been tampered with. Rachel McLean's disappearance was made public on the 22nd of April. Many of John Tanner's friends contacted the police to tell them how they had been concerned with the way he was acting since returning to Nottingham, but he seemed to be carrying on life as usual, playing football and doing other activities that he would normally do. Although the media, who now had hold of the story, were turning up and photographing him wherever he went, turning up at his home, John and his flatmates were now sat inside, curtains drawn, and not answering the door, fed up with the publicity and being hounded by the press. By now, police had John Tanner firmly in their sights, but they did not have Rachel or a shred of evidence against John Tanner. The friendly police officers managed to persuade John to talk to the media, so they held a press conference where John sat front and centre, asking for Rachel to either contact him or his family or the police. John Tanner sat there composed. He did not cry and he showed no emotion, and the media seemed to catch it. They saw right through him. John was also involved in a reenactment at the train station where they played out Rachel's last known movements. The news covered it and so did the papers, until a lady witness called the police.
I'd switched the television on for the reconstruction, 10 o'clock news or something, and to my amazement, I recognized the man as the person who'd sat next to me in Oxford Station. He was agitated. He brought out a pad with thin paper and lines on it.
Another hole in John Tanner's story was that him and Rachel had boarded a bus together to the train station in Oxford, although a computer system of what tickets are purchased and at what stop and time showed that only one ticket was purchased that day at the time mentioned at the stop near Rachel's home. Also, Rachel had said in her diary that John had proposed to her while they were out. She said yes because she felt she had no choice, and in her diary she wrote, "Will I marry him? Will I let this carry on because I cannot be bothered to stop it? I sometimes think dark thoughts. I can see through his soul as one sees through a dirty window." Police now believed that Rachel was dead. One question was on everybody's lips. Where was her body? Police believed that it had to be in that house. So at the beginning of May, police contacted the Oxfordshire County Council for details regarding the layouts of these houses. They were tall, big houses that had been made into flats, and they wanted the layout of the houses in Argyle Street, particularly about the basements. They were told that there were no basements in the houses, but an official remembered that the houses were underpinned, which meant that there were cavities under the floorboards. Further searches within the property were carried out. A day later, on the 2nd of May, Rachel McLean's body was found shortly before 5:30 p.m. It was covered in pieces of carpet, stuffed at the back of a cupboard under the stairs, behind all sorts of items such as vacuum cleaners. But due to low spring temperatures, there was no decomposition, and within an hour, John Tanner had been arrested at a pub in Nottingham. He initially refused to answer any police questions. Police taunted him over and over with evidence, asking him if he loved her so deeply, then how could he do this to her? It all got too much for John, who requested a lawyer and refused to answer any questions. John then spoke with officers. He told them that that day had gone okay, that there were no arguing, that he was sat watching the semi-finals football while Rachel sat in the kitchen studying. Rachel had come into the room asking to speak with him, but then said, "No, nothing, it's nothing, it doesn't matter." The couple then ate dinner together, making small talk, but Rachel was quiet. An argument had occurred when John had gone to touch Rachel's hand and she'd pulled her hand away. She took the plates into the kitchen to wash up. "You cannot even stand me to touch you," he said, after he paced up and down in the bedroom, getting more and more frustrated. He told officers that he went to the kitchen where Rachel was. "Sometimes I have no clue what's going on in that pretty little head of yours," he said to her. Rachel asked him to turn the music down and sit down for a second on the bed, so they sat. Rachel told him, "There's something I need to tell you, John. It's over between us. I've been seeing someone else." Now this is not official, as there was nothing in her diary to say that she'd been seeing anyone else, but this is what he told officers. The couple had continued to argue, with Rachel telling John to stay away, to not speak to her like that, as he shouted and hurled profanity at her. Rachel told him, "I don't love you, John. I don't love you. It's over. I want you to leave. I want you to get out. Go," she said. John told detectives that the only recollection from that point was him lunging at her and his hands around her neck. From there, she wasn't moving and I presumed I'd killed her, he said. In his confession, John Tanner told detectives that he had spent several hours looking for a hiding place for the body inside the house. It took police searchers 17 days to locate the body hidden in an 8-inch high gap at the back of the cupboard under the stairs, crammed with household junk. John Tanner had dragged Rachel McLean's body, clothed in ski pants and a t-shirt, from the adjacent bedroom and along the hallway into the recess under the floor. John Tanner had left the house, taking the next train back to Nottingham. He was seen by a witness at the train station, and on the train, John Tanner penned a letter to Rachel McLean that officers received days later. John Tanner appeared at Oxford Magistrates Court on the 4th of May and was charged with murder. During a 4-day trial at Birmingham Crown Court, in which he pleaded not guilty, John Tanner said that Rachel McLean had told him that she'd been unfaithful and wanted to end the relationship. "I flew into a rage and proceeded to put my hands around her neck," he said. "I think I must have lost control. Because I only have a vague recollection of the time that elapsed afterwards, I am bewildered why I have done something so terrible to a person I love dearly." On the 6th of December 1991, the jury returned a majority verdict of 10-2, and John Tanner was given a life sentence. In early 2003, after serving only little more than 11 years of his sentence, John Tanner was released from jail and returned to live in New Zealand. He then continued his classics degree at Victoria University of Wellington and graduated in 2005. John Tanner was again jailed in 2018 for assaulting his partner. Unfortunately, John Tanner will be out again and he is able to continue his life. But unfortunately for Rachel, she does not get this privilege. Unfortunately, she met a man who was so insecure that he couldn't take the word no.